Welcome to the Hannah's Knit Cottage podcast. My name is Hannah. This is episode 25, I believe, of the Knit Cottage podcast. So, hello, this is my channel where I talk about all the crafty things. In the podcast, we mainly focus on knitting, life updates, kind of what's going on. Today is Monday, May 9th. Today is Monday, May the 4th. When you see this, it's going to be Saturday, May 9th. So it's the day before Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Let's start with the life update before we get into the podcast. I don't have any finished objects today. I was supposed to actually film this Saturday. I'm trying to film like a week ahead of time and then have it post the following Saturday. And that gives me like a week to edit. First, you can find me on Instagram as Hannah's Knit Cottage and on Ravelry as Hannah072. Also, if you need anything, you can email me at hkcpodcast@gmail.com. I do try to check that regularly, but if you can't get me there, Instagram also works. So life update. It's been busy. May is always a busy time of year for us. Just as a teacher, May is when everybody graduates, but also my stepdaughter will be graduating soon, so that's been busy, kind of getting things ready for that, and then things at church. Mother's Day is coming up. My kids, my last grade of kids had their program at school, and then we're gearing up for the school talent show, so all the things are happening right now. So today we're here at my house. I have a feeling that next podcast will also be here at my house. Just because I don't think I'll be able to make it into the shop to film like when I normally would. So, if you're wondering about my bangs, I still have bangs. We're trying to like pin them back because they were not behaving today. So this is not, I feel like I'm throwing back to the 90s. I don't know how I feel about this, but we're going to roll with it for today. So I got horribly sick with strep last week. It was not fun. I was in the bed, I think Monday night I was in the bed. Tuesday, I went to the doctor, and then I was in the bed for the whole rest of the day. The doctor did not clear me to return to work until Thursday, just so I wasn't, like, contagious. So, Wednesday, I was up, like, I was upright, but I was sitting on the couch all day. Like, I tried to knit, and about, like, an hour passed, and I had barely knit anything, and it wasn't consistent. The gauge was off, and I just could not, like, maintain focus. So I was like, well, we're going to take a pause. So I did not knit last week from like Sunday until I think Thursday or Friday. I was having a really hard time and I was very slow and I was having a lot of trouble focusing on things. So my progress is not as much as I would like. So we don't have any finished objects. That's why I wanted to start with life update. I had like basically like a whole week of knitting that was lost. Because even when I knit like the Saturday and Sunday before, I was starting to like not feel good. And so like it was just not good. I didn't do very much. Yeah. So we're going to do the kind of what I've been working on the past couple weeks. It's been a little over 2 weeks since I would have filmed last. And then we're going to do a little bit of like a Mother's Day chat. Do the history of how Hannah's Knit Cottage became Hannah's Knit Cottage and how that ties into Mother's Day. So the first whip up is my King Salmon Light. This is a pattern by Caitlin Hunter. It is living in a bag made by Michelle of Wool Market Fibers. I won this at a secret, like it was I guess it's called Dirty Santa, like where you swap, like you draw numbers and you get a present and then you can swap presents, like people can steal your present. I won this. I was very excited. If you hear dog noises, Oliver is out running amok here. He is by my side right now. Would you like to say hey to the podcast? Oliver, say hello. Okay. And he's done. No, he's not. Oliver, do you want to say hello to the podcast? No, you want to chew my sweater, don't you? Hey, there's an Oliver. I did manage, though, over this weekend. I've made a pretty good amount of progress on my first whip. So my first whip out. Y'all forgive the squeaky toys if you can hear them. Dogs. So my first whip out is my King Salmon Light by Caitlin Hunter, also known as Boylan Knitworks. I have finished a sleeve. Obviously, we see Hannah did not make her May 1st deadline, but considering all the illness, I'm pretty proud of how far I've gotten. I've knit 9 inches down on the body, so done pretty good. With the family events coming up, I am hopeful that I can get the rest of this finished over the next 2 weeks for sure. So before the next podcast, I think this will be done. The yarn is salmon color, is Wool Market Fibers Fire on the Mountain, and then the steely blue gray is Polka Dot Creek Steel, both in fingering. This is knit. She calls for a US 1.5 for the ribbing and a US 2 for the body. I did the US 2 for the body, and I didn't have a US 1.5. I've never needed a US 1.5. So I tried it on a US 1. It was way too small. I ripped it out, and I knit it, I believe, on a US 2. And then I know for sure on this ribbing, I also did on a US 2. I feel like the ribbing will cinch up enough, and I'm not crazy worried about this flaring. The neckline's pretty, like, tight on me, like, high. It hits up, like, here. Like, it's really close to my neck, so... Anyway, this is whip number 1. I'm very hopeful I will have this done and have a pretty big FO for next podcast. The next project you've also seen before. This also should have been an FO today, but it's not. This is just like an Amazon bag. I'll link it below. It's kind of the same style as the redesigned project bags where it opens up. But it's like a not real leather, so it's a lot cheaper and it's a little bit smaller. Anyway, so these are my Elsa socks. I have finished both socks as far as like knit the whole sock, and I've picked up here for the first afterthought heel. So literally all these need are heels. That's it. So if I can't get 2 heels knocked out in 2 weeks, like there's a problem, y'all. So this is Polka Dot Creek Elsa. This is their self-striping fingering weight. Polka Dot Creek is doing a Disney Princess self-striping yarn club this year. So Anna and Elsa were January. So we're in May now, and I'm on January. We'll see if I get these knit up this year. We'll see. I did work also. I had mentioned my jelly roll blanket last time. I'll show you where it's at. Gotten pretty far. I've added in the mini for Anna. So this was what Anna's colorway looked like. This is a knit up and garter stitch. This is the jelly roll blanket, the knit version by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. And so I've started in adding the second set of Anna's minis, and I've got both of the Elsa self-striping sitting on standby, and then once I finish the 2 heels, I'll put the contrast mini in this bag as well. So that's gonna be, I think, my goal from now on is when I get Anna and Elsa both added in, then I'll start the next Disney Princess sock, and I won't start, the next one is Aurora, and then Tiana is after that. I won't start Tiana until I've knit the Aurora sock and put the mini and all of that in here in this blanket. I think that's my goal. So then it should go on pretty well. I think, depending on how long this is, because I've got a ways to go on this one, I might only need 2 princess colorways per strip of the blanket, which would mean, forgive the dog squeaking his toy. I think I can get away with 2 princesses per strip to be the full length of what I want, and then I would be 7 wide, which I think would be pretty good. So we'll see. We're just gonna see. I think I know I played around with the heel. It's gonna be different on the Elsa socks than it was on the Anna socks, so I will have less of this color, which means not all the strips are gonna be even at all. So I'll have to figure out what to do to even out the strips. So we'll see. I'll play around with it. I have a huge stash of row 1 minis. So worst comes to worst, I'm sure I can find a row 1 mini in a color that looks like it belongs with that princess wherever I'm at, and finish out the row and then start the next strip of colors with the next princess. So we'll see. Okay, that's the whips you have seen, but I have one whip that I have started that you have not seen before. This is, I guess I should talk about what I'm wearing too. I'm wearing the Getty tee by Tana Slavely. This is a DK weight pattern that is a mix of crochet and knit. So it's all DK. This is Broco Vintage DK. And then I used Wool Market Fibers minis that were in fingering weight and held them double platinum. This purple didn't have a color, and then it's actually a black that I had. So just like this was my birthday sweater for last year, I've cast on my birthday sweater for this year, and I'm very excited about it. This is the Tulle Stitchy by Rebecca Clow of the Crayabea. I've had this pattern in my stash forever. So I was thinking for this year is going to be America's 250th birthday, and my birthday is only 5 days after the 4th of July. So what my goal is to knit a red, white, and blue birthday sweater to wear for the 4th of July and my birthday. So Tulsa Tee is just a standard raglan. The main color for this is going to be cream. You can see the raglan starting to emerge here. If I can get it. You see a raglan coming in here. Then I got, this is I think the right back and this is the right front, I think. So it's got a pretty wide neckline, so I'm curious to see how this will wear. This yarn is Drops Bell. It's 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen. It's a very affordable yarn. I got this on Linda Hobby. I saw the Fruitful Hands mention it. This cream is color 2, and my red and my blue are here. My red is color 29, and my blue is color 20. So what I was thinking is, since I'm getting really close on the salmon, I think it's very possible I finish the salmon this week. And then the following week, I will still have a pretty good bit of card knitting time. To and from church, I get card knitting time. So that's about 40 minutes total, 3 times a week, because we go back and forth twice on Sunday and then on Wednesday. So yeah, 40 minutes, 20 minutes each way, basically. So, I mean, that's a pretty good chunk of knitting time. Then we will be going to an event this week and the following week. So, okay, if I look like I'm in a different spot, I had to get up and help Oliver with his toys. He wanted to come chew on my sweater, and that's not going to work for either one of us. So, but next week, I think we have about like an hour-and-a-half trip. I don't think I'll be able to knit both ways. It's an hour and a half each way. I think on the way back, it's going to be too dark, but on the way up, I mean, an hour and a half of knitting time, you can get some major knitting done. And this sweater, I'm in the raglans now, and it's knit on a US 8. DK weight yarn, US 8. I'm not for sure about this. On camera, you can't really see through it. I was worried about it being too see-through, so we'll see. Anyway, so my idea was I'm going to have a great bit of knitting time that I can really get some good work in on this. And then we're hitting the end of the school year. I think after next week, life will chill out a smidge till we get to the end of the school year and I got all the things packed up and still kind of coast into summer break. But yeah, so figured why not go ahead and get it knocked out. The yarn will come in. It's on a US 8. It'll be a nice big needle size compared to the salmon, which is like on a US 2. So yeah, I'm excited. And then my goal, I think, will be to sew a pair of red shorts or pants. I'm gonna get the Pomona pants. I have the pattern for the Pomona pants. I'll put that on the screen here. I don't remember who it's by. And a girl in my church, and she was interested in sewing pants, so we're gonna have a sewing day. And I want to sew some steel blue pants to match my King Salmon Light and some red shorts to match my Tulsa Tee. It'd be cool if it was done for Memorial Day, because could you just imagine red, white, and blue Memorial Day? Even though it's supposed to be my birthday sweater, you know, I can enjoy the 4th of July and America's birthday all year long. So that's all the knitting. If you're just here for knitting, thank you for coming by. I appreciate y'all watching every week. Thank you everybody who's new. Welcome. Thank you for hanging around. So if you would like to know the story of how Hannah's Knit Cottage became Hannah's Knit Cottage, here you go. Here's the story. So, and how does this connect to Mother's Day? So actually all of my making adventures are inspired by my grandmother. Her name was Aura. When I was about 4 years old, I used to stay with my grandma when my parents were at work. My brother and I have a twin brother. We would stay with my grandmother. And I remember when I was pretty young being very frustrated that my brother went to play and I had to sit and work. And you're like, sit and work? Like, she made you work? Hello, Oliver. So you're like, she made you sit and work? Not exactly. She was teaching me how to crochet, but little kid me thought like I was doing a serious job. It was a real deal. So I started off just chaining, and I remember making tons. I would think they were like little like yarn snakes. I would make chain after chain after chain, and it was like a toy I would play with. By the time I was about 8, I remember being around 2nd grade age, she taught me how to put it together into a single crochet and to make blankets. Now the blanket I made in 2nd grade never got completed, but I remember working really hard on it, and it was like single crochet, super tight gauge. Like that blanket would have taken 50 million years anyway. 8-year-old Hannah did not understand that. Anyway, so I did that for a while, and then it kind of fell by the wayside. Flash forward to post-college Hannah, and I decide I'm ready to pick up crochet again. I start seeing people on YouTube crocheting, people like TL Yarn Crafts and Marley Bird, and I decide I'm ready to get back into it. So I do, and it's something that my grandmother and I bonded over, that I had refound crochet, and she taught, I think she taught all the granddaughters. I know she definitely taught her daughters, and to my knowledge, I'm pretty much the only one that came back to it. I think everybody's kind of dabbled in it throughout their lives. So we'll see. Maybe they're doing it now. I don't know. However, it was something that she and I bonded over and got really close over. And I remember I had this book about crochet borders, and I was showing her the book I had found, how excited I was. And she was like, can I borrow that? And I was like, yeah, Nanny, you can borrow that. And she came back and to church one day. She had brought the book back, but she had made all these samples of all these different crochet borders, and she was like, yeah, I think these are cool, you should try some of these. And it was so cool. It was such a special moment that I appreciated then, but I think I appreciate even more now. Not long after that, my grandmother got weaker, more ill, and her making declined. In 2019, in September, she passed away. And it felt like my grandmother and I guess, had always been close, but it felt like we finally really got close, like right at the end of her life. And I was so distraught. It was like right there. We were finally getting close. We were bonding over something. And then she passed away. And obviously that's not in her control or my control. But in the grief of losing her, there were some really cool things that emerged out of it. I was always supposed to learn how to knit from her, and I never did. And I remember distinctly at her funeral how many people came up that we had never met before, who said that she had touched their lives, that she had made them something, like a prayer shawl, that she, out of nowhere would say, hey, I've been praying for you, and would present this shawl. And based off of how many people we saw, I know there has to be that many more at least that we will never know who they were. Maybe they passed away before she did, or just they didn't know she had passed away and weren't at her funeral. I mean, it was very profound to see how many people she touched throughout her life, sharing the love of Jesus. Sorry, I always get emotional thinking about her. Anyway, so I became very determined to pick up that mantle. That was my way of making sure her legacy lived on. And I was determined then that I needed to learn how to knit. It was something that I needed to conquer at that point. So I got a knitting DVD, I got some knitting needles, got some yarn, and I was already crocheting, so I felt pretty confident that I could just transfer skills over. And I was very wrong. I started, and I think I just tried to push myself too fast, and I failed. I failed miserably, and I just got overwhelmed to the point where I quit, and I set it aside. And that would have been 2019. So a whole year passes, and it is now October of 2020. And there's a little thing about to hit the Mississippi Gulf Coast called Hurricane Zeta. Hurricane Zeta was on her way, and I said, well, as you do in a hurricane, the odds are you might lose power, so you better have something to do to keep yourself occupied without power, at least till the storm passes. While the storm is, going through the area, you really can't get out, you can't do anything. So you better have something to do, like a book or something. And I was like, well, I'm gonna watch this knitting DVD again. and I'm going to relearn how to do this, and I'm going to take my time, and hopefully by the time the power goes out, I will know how to knit at least enough that I can keep practicing when the power is out. And that's what happened. I knit a scarf. It was very bad, very janky, I will be honest. In garter stitch, I just went back and forth in knits, and then as I learned purls, I started adding purls in, and I knit and knit and knit during that hurricane. And it caught on after that. It stuck. I worked hard. Purling was hard for me. I end up Portuguese purling with my thumb. I have a short on the channel if you want to see how I purl. Anyway, so all of that said, I think as Mother's Day is approaching this year, I've been thinking a lot about her. So now you're like, okay, this is how you ended up knitting, but where does Hannah's Knit Cottage come from, right? So back in the day, my grandmother owned a yarn store. It was called Aura's Knit Cottage, and that was her yarn store. So when I thought about making the channel, I really just wanted to connect with other people who knit and crochet and craft on the interwebs, and just maybe spread what I learned, share what I learned, and document my journey. But also if somebody else learned something from what I did, that maybe I could help them the same way I needed help, you know, through the DVD and YouTube. That was how I learned. So the name Hannah's Knit Cottage just felt fitting. There really couldn't be any other name for it because it's extending that legacy of hers. I think you'll see, I've been pondering a lot about her lately, and I think you'll see, obviously all my projects here are for myself, but I think I definitely have some things coming down the pipeline that are going to be for others, just in her memory, that I think what we do is such a gift. I think the gift of being, I think the ability of being able to make something with your own two hands is a true gift. It's a blessing, and most blessings aren't bestowed just to bless yourself. It's bestowed, it blesses you, but it also should bless others as well. So I have some things coming down the pipeline, I think, new projects I want to start, and then we'll see from there where I go. But yeah, trying to live a life the best way I can in her legacy. And I know I would be remiss if I don't say this, but I know for a fact the biggest thing she would say would be that her legacy, if I'm going to follow in her footsteps, it's really to follow in the footsteps of Jesus, that Jesus laid the footsteps first in following the Lord, and that's what she did. That's what she spent her life doing. And I think that's why her making was such a testimony, is because it was something, she was home a lot. She was a stay-at-home mom most of her adult life. So that was something she did in those quiet moments, prayer and making, that she used to witness to others and to bless others and to encourage others. So anyway, that's where the name Hannah's Knit Cottage comes from. That is the legacy that I was born into. There's shoes that I could never hope to really fill, but definitely became motivation, that grief of losing her became this journey that I'm on now. I'm really grateful for, and there are times I forget where I all came from, and it's good to remember. So this Mother's Day, hug your mom, your mother-in-law, your grandmothers, if you have them close, and make sure they know what a blessing they are to you. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I'll see you in 2 weeks. May God bless you. Until then, happy making. Bye.